When you think of World War II soldiers and war heroes, you probably think of generals like George Patton or Douglas MacArthur, or soldiers such as Audie Murphy. What do all these people have in common other than being war heroes? They're all men, as was pretty much every soldier that fought in World War II. However, not all the heroes were men, as this is the story of the Soviet 588th Bomber Regiment, known as the Night Witches. In late 1941, the German advance was creeping closer to the Soviet capital of Moscow as the war on the Eastern Front raged on. The Soviets were becoming desperate as the threat of a German takeover grew larger. Enter Marina Raskova, a Soviet female pilot nicknamed the Soviet Amelia Earhart. Raskova had been receiving letters from women all over the Soviet Union, yearning to assist in the war effort with the creation of a female fighting force. Raskova was eager to present this idea to Joseph Stalin, the then dictator of the Soviet Union. At the time, women in the Soviet military were allowed to partake in support roles, but they were never allowed to truly engage in combat. It was at the point of highest desperation that Stalin finally agreed to create 3 all-female Air Force regiments, the 586th, the 587th, and the most famous being the 588th. The 588th were the Night Bomber Regiment, tasked with bombing German camps as they slept. They were given horribly out-of-date gear to complete their missions. Overall, they were ridiculed and harassed by their male counterparts for their involvement in the war effort. They used the Polikarpov PO-2, a wooden-framed, canvas-winged death trap, nicknamed the crop duster, or even worse, the sewing machine, due to the fact that its engine was so loud. It was significantly slower than many of the German fighter planes, and to make matters worse, these pilots were not even given parachutes or radar technology, making their missions even more dangerous. Their strategy was to attack in groups of 3 under the cover of night. Once they approached their target, a navigator would send a signal. Then the pilots would cut their engines, allowing them to stealthily drop their bombs, dealing death from above. The unsuspecting Germans would hear the whooshing sound of wind blowing across the plane's wings, then bombs exploding, followed by the loud laughter of women in the distance. They were so petrified of these bombers that they called them Die Nachthexen, which simply translates to the Night Witches in English. The German fighter pilot, Johannes Steinhoff, said, "We simply couldn't grasp that the Soviet airmen that caused us the greatest trouble were in fact women. These women feared nothing. They came night after night in their very slow biplanes, and for some periods they wouldn't give us any sleep at all." The Night Witches flew a combined 30,000 missions over 4 years, dropping roughly 23,000 tons of bombs. The regiment lost about 30 women, 24 of which would be awarded the title Hero of the Soviet Union, an equivalent to our Medal of Honor. Even with all of their success, they weren't allowed to fly in the victory parade, given their planes were too slow, and were disbanded just 6 months after the war. Although the story isn't well known here in the United States, their story has been told in many other parts of the world, even in song, the most famous retelling being Sabaton's hit song titled Night Witches, adding some more flair to an already amazing story. The heroics of the Night Witches, among many other women across the world, have helped pave the way for women's equality in today's society.